Hello, everybody. I welcome you all to the Brand Podcast, Episode 5, presented by People's Brand. And the topic for today is the market trend 2018 for the automotive industry. One of the most variable industry is automotive. If we see the trend throughout the world, and especially in the developing countries like India, at this point of time, we hear a lot about the West commercialization or towards the next big leap in auto technology, that is driverless car or something similar in the line. But still, you cannot ignore the fact that auto manufacturers still have their factories full of vehicles which need to be sold. Still, the huge demand is for the automakers across the world. They're looking for the new markets like India. Reason being, the developed country markets are getting saturated, and the demand in developing countries like India, China, and Africa, these are growing at a huge pace. If I talk about the variety and the domain or the line of cars, even in one single brand, we have everything starting from a micro hatchback to an SUV. And if we go apart from the Indian customer and if we see the other most emerging markets like South Africa, we can say by seeing the trend, like for example, if you must have seen in the last 5 years, the seven biggest vehicle producers have invested almost 24 billion rand in the South Africa, which led to the boom domestic output by about 30% and export by 44%. Now, especially if you see the emerging of new technologies like driverless car, so automated driving is becoming the place to invest for the car manufacturers. Lining up from the GM, General Motors to Toyota, everyone is investing. And in many companies, these features are certainly being optimized and used for quite long. For example, if we see a Tesla, certain part of automated technology are already being used. This allow people option to go hand and feet free. If you see another example, the Mercedes Benz, they have increased the investment in the space from 5.7 billion euros to 6.6 billion euros in 2015. And especially if we see the venture fund established by BMW by the name of BMW I Venture, they provide the venture capital to mobility companies. So they are in the mission to launch a premium Airbnb for cars. If we see the way the consumer behave, for example, in America, we see almost people spend 900 hours a year being mobile and 25 plus hours hearing a music in their vehicles. If we compare the trends in the and consumer behavior in the American market compared with the Indian market, we see that okay, people still don't spend the same amount of time that Americans spend on the auto or their vehicles. Compared to them, we spend quite a less, but the way our roads are there, without any iota of doubt, we can say that these road makes us feel a quite longer, even if the distance is not longer. Even though in America, if we see the manufacturers like Ford are trying to diverse a range of partners to provide customers unique experience, like they include Spotify, they have McDonald's, they have 7-Eleven and BP, and so many and so far. And if we see typically BMW, they have the connected drive that makes leading provider of online based service and vehicles. These are almost available in 45 markets. At this particular point of time, if we see the local automotive trend, now people are shifting from a mindset of owning a car which was once thought of a milestone in person's life, or even some people used to dream of this. Now that has changed. The conditions are changing with plethora of cab options available, and if we see the level of parking, the congestion in the cities, now people are shifting from owning a car to a renting a car. In addition to that, when you rent a car, you feel a different joy. Reason being, now you don't need to get worried about anything. Whether your car will get hit, whether when you will get over certain places, whether you get the parking spaces would be there or not. So this headache is gone by the advent and plethora and coming of this Ola and Uber industry. As the city regulation are getting tougher and making it more difficult for the normal citizen. For example, you must have seen in the past few months that in the Delhi we have the odd even formula, and this created a huge mess. Reason being, if you own your personal car, then you need to think twice. You can use your car maximum 3 to 4 days, not every single day. But if you're using the Ola and Ubers, now you can go every single day hassle free without any headache, without thinking of any premium parking. And if we see some of the largest car brand like Ford and Renault, they have started thinking on this line. They have seen the way the Indian consumer mindset has changed and is shifting. So now they're also planning to have something like Zoom and blah blah car which offers such a service. And on top of that, Indian consumer don't want to have this headache of owning a car. If we see the brand loyalty due to the product life cycle, this has shrunk. And now differentiators need to go beyond tweaking the music system. Earlier, if you have good music system, if you have good leg spacing, people used to get attracted. But now things have evolved. So one thing we should need take care of, and the automobile industry should take care of, that is now the newer model that need to be hitting the road, that just should not be taking care of few or certain features. They need to ensure that existing customer do not feel shortchanged by providing them updates. Other than that, by increasing of commoditization, the brand loyalty will be at its ultimate test. Each demographic will show all type of behavior. And if we see the way Indian automotive makers and foreign automotive makers are functioning, we can see that Indian manufacturers like Mahindra and Mahindra and Tata, these are already supplying a car to overseas market. And that too under their own brand names. For example, if you see the erstwhile Riva from Maini, it was sold in the UK for several years as GWiz. So now there is a complete integration of things happening. Indians are expanding to the US market, to the UK markets. At the same time, they're having their turf in the domestic market. If we see the big brands like Maruti Suzuki or Renault, they have been introducing their range of cars starting from Maruti Swift Desire to the Renault Duster. So now the Indian traders or Indian automotive makers, they have two challenges. First of all, they need to compete in the domestic market. At the same time, they need to meet the international standard and compete over there if they want to expand. So it's a huge opportunity for Indian automotive makers, auto industry, to show their mettle. Thank you for being on the show. See you in the next episode.